I was stirring a heavy Dutch oven, the kind that holds heat like a secret, when someone started pounding on the front door, hard enough to rattle the glass. The house smelled of saffron rice, roasted garlic, and the caldo I had been cooking since dawn for Nora's citizenship dinner. 8 years of my hands in that kitchen, and that was the moment they chose. I wiped my fingers on my apron, already feeling something wrong crawl up my spine, and before I even reached the hallway, I heard my name. Loud. Official. Mispronounced. Elena Marquez. Not Mama, not Abuela. My full name, like I was a file, not a person. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there. Behind them, the neighbors, pretending not to stare. One of them asked if I was Elena Marquez. Yes, I said. My voice didn't shake. Not yet. They told me there had been a report that I needed to come with them. Just like that. No confusion, no hesitation. Like they already knew everything about me, except who I really was. And in that second, before I even turned around, I understood something that made my stomach go cold. This wasn't random. Someone inside that house had called them. I looked past the officers. Gabriel stood near the kitchen entrance, not rushing forward, not asking questions, just watching. Nora was behind him, arms folded tight, lips pressed together like she was holding something in. The children were frozen, caught between curiosity and fear. The table was already set. Plates, glasses, folded napkins I had ironed that morning. A celebration waiting to begin. For her. For the woman who had just secured everything except me. I need to turn off the stove, I said. One of the officers nodded. Make it quick. I walked back into the kitchen. The broth was still simmering, quiet, patient, like it didn't know what was happening. I turned the flame down slowly, like I was finishing a normal day. My hands moved automatically. 8 years of routine doesn't disappear just because your life is breaking. I looked at the counter. The knife I had used to chop cilantro, the ceramic bowl with sliced limes, the small tin where I kept spices, and beneath it, hidden deeper than anyone ever checked, something else. Papers. Notes. Proof. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Mom, Gabriel finally said from behind me, his voice low. I turned. I didn't answer. I just looked. Really looked. And I saw it. Not fear. Not shock. Relief. That was the moment something inside me stopped being soft. I'll get my coat, I said. No one offered to help. Not Nora. Not my son. The children didn't move either. Only Sophia, my oldest granddaughter, took one step forward, like she wanted to say something. But Nora's hand touched her arm, and she froze. I put on my coat. It still smelled faintly of detergent and the lavender sachets I tucked into the closet. Small things. Quiet things. The kind you do when you believe you belong somewhere. I stepped outside. The air was colder than I expected. As they guided me toward the car, I heard a neighbor whisper. A door close. The life I had been living for 8 years, continuing behind me like I had already been erased from it. I didn't cry. Not when they asked me questions. Not when they wrote things down. Not when they treated me like I had just appeared out of nowhere, instead of raising children in that house, cooking every meal, washing every sheet, holding every fever. I answered everything clearly. But inside, something else had already started. I was remembering. Every hour, every promise, every lie. And for the first time in 8 years, I wasn't thinking about how to survive in that house. I was thinking about what they had just done to me and what it was going to cost them. Hello, my dear ones. I wish I could say this kind of story is rare. But it isn't. A 73-year-old woman gives everything, and the moment she's no longer needed, they turn on her. Tell me, what would you feel in her place? They put me in the back seat like I might run, like my knees, stiff from years of standing over stoves and sinks, could carry me anywhere fast enough to matter. The door shut with a dull, final sound. And through the glass, I saw Sophia. She broke away from Nora's hand and stepped outside. She didn't wave. She didn't cry. She just looked straight at me, her face tight with something sharper than fear. She knew. The car started moving. The house disappeared faster than I expected. 8 years of my life reduced to a shrinking rectangle of light and brick in the side mirror. Do you have identification? One of the officers asked. Yes, I said. In my purse. My voice was steady. That surprised even me. I handed it over. He looked at it, then at me, then back at it again. Like something didn't quite match what he expected. Maybe he thought I would look more dangerous, or more broken. Someone reported that you're in the country illegally, he said, almost casually. I know why you're here, I answered. He glanced at me, curious now. You do? Yes. I turned toward the window, watching unfamiliar streets pass, but in my mind, I was still standing in that kitchen. I've lived in the same house for 8 years, raised 2 children, cooked every meal, took them to school, picked them up, stayed when they were sick, paid for groceries when they couldn't. And suddenly, today, someone decided I shouldn't be there anymore. I didn't sleep that night. The room Marianne arranged for me was small, quiet, and too clean, like a place meant for people in transition, not for someone whose life had just been torn open. A narrow bed, a wooden chair, a lamp that buzzed softly if you listened too closely. I lay there fully dressed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every second from the moment they knocked on the door. But my mind kept returning to the same place, the kitchen, the spice tin, the notebook. By morning, Marianne was back, moving with the same calm precision. We don't have much time before they realize you're not coming back quietly, she said. If you have anything important in that house, we need to get it. I nodded. I know exactly where it is. She studied me for a moment. Are you ready to go back there? No, I wasn't. But I also wasn't going back as the same woman who left. Yes, I said. We didn't arrive at the front door. Marianne parked a little down the street. Less attention, she explained, and we don't give them time to prepare. The house looked the same. Of course it did. Houses don't show betrayal on the outside. The same curtains, the same potted plant I had watered for years, the same window where I used to watch the children come home from school. But something had shifted. It wasn't mine anymore. Marianne walked beside me as we approached the door. I still had my key. They hadn't thought to take it. Not yet. I opened it. The smell hit me first. My cooking, still there, like I had just stepped out for a moment instead of being taken away. Voices came from the living room, Gabriel and Nora, low, tense. They stopped when they saw me. For a second, no one moved. Nora recovered first. "You shouldn't be here," she said, sharp and controlled. I didn't answer. I stepped inside fully, Marianne just behind me. "I'm here to collect my belongings," I said. Gabriel's eyes flicked to her. "Who is this?" "Legal support," Marianne replied calmly. That word landed exactly where it needed to. I watched it change something in his face. Not guilt, calculation. "You could have just called," he said, trying to soften his tone. "We didn't expect—" "No," I interrupted. "You expected exactly what you planned." Silence. Heavy. Real. Nora crossed her arms. "We didn't plan anything. This is unfortunate." Unfortunate. 8 years reduced to that word. I turned away from her. There was nothing there for me anymore. I walked straight into the kitchen. Everything was exactly where I had left it. The pot now cold, the plates still stacked, the knife cleaned and drying. A life paused mid-motion. I moved to the counter, lifted the ceramic bowl, then the spice tin. My hands were steady. I opened it. Still there. Folded papers, receipts, notes, copies. Small things, insignificant if you didn't know what you were looking at. But I did. And now, so did Marianne. I didn't take everything at once. I was careful, methodical. The notebook came next, tucked behind a row of old cookbooks no one but me ever touched. The one where I wrote everything. Dates, hours, what I did, what was said. Promises made, promises delayed. Every day, for years. "Mom." Gabriel's voice again, closer now. I turned slowly. "This doesn't have to become something ugly," he said. "We can fix this." Fix, that word again. You had 8 years to fix it. His jaw tightened. Nora stepped forward. "What exactly do you think you're going to do with whatever that is?" I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time, not as someone I had served, but as someone who had made a mistake. "You'll find out," I said. And for the first time since I walked into that house, she had nothing to say. I gathered the last of my things, not clothes, not dishes, nothing that could be replaced, only what mattered, proof. As I walked toward the door, I heard footsteps behind me. Sophia. She stood there, eyes bright, breathing fast, like she had been waiting for this moment. "I knew you'd come back," she said quietly. I reached out and touched her face, just for a second. "Thank you," I told her, "for not staying silent." Her eyes flicked toward her parents, then back to me. "I'm not done," she said. "Neither am I." Outside, the air felt different. I wasn't being taken anymore. I was leaving, and I was taking everything they thought I didn't have. We didn't speak on the way back. Marianne drove steady as always, but the air had shifted. What I carried in that small cloth bag on my lap was no longer just my past. It was something sharper now, something that could cut. At the office, she didn't waste time. "Let's go through everything." We sat at a wide wooden table. I unfolded the papers slowly, one by one, like laying out pieces of a life no one had ever bothered to examine closely. Grocery receipts, with my handwriting on the back. Expense lists, from months they said they were short. Pharmacy slips with the children's names. School pickup logs. And then, the notebook. Marianne opened it carefully. Page after page. 6:10 a.m. breakfast, packed lunches, school drop-off, cleaning, laundry, dinner prep, child sick, awake until 2:40 a.m. Every day, no gaps, no drama, just consistency. This, she said, turning another page, is extremely detailed. I wrote it because I was tired of forgetting, tired of being told I didn't do much. She looked up at me. They told you that? Not directly, but enough. She nodded slowly. Then came the envelopes. Inside, copies of messages. Not many. I wasn't careless, but enough to show a pattern. Next month we'll start your papers. Just don't push right now. Small sentences. Casual. Repeated. Too many times. Marianne leaned back a little, exhaling. This, she said, is not just neglect. I didn't answer. I already knew. She tapped one of the receipts. You were covering household expenses. Yes. From where? Small savings, cash I kept. Sometimes they gave me money, but not enough. I filled the gaps. And they claimed you weren't working? Yes. Silence again, heavier this time. Then she straightened. Mrs. Marquez, I need to be very clear with you. I held her gaze. What you've documented goes beyond immigration. This is labor exploitation, potential financial abuse, possibly even fraud. The words didn't shock me. They settled, like something finally being named correctly. They thought, I said slowly, because I'm old, because I'm family, because I don't have papers, none of this mattered. Marianne closed the notebook. They thought wrong. That was the moment I felt it fully. Not fear, not sadness, control. For 8 years, everything I did existed inside their walls, under their rules, under their timing. Now, everything was outside, documented, structured, real. They called immigration on me, I said quietly, on the exact day she got what she wanted. Marianne nodded. They thought it would make you disappear. I shook my head. No. I placed my hand on the notebook. This is where they made their mistake. Because now, for the first time in 8 years, everything they had done could be seen, measured, counted, answered. The call came that afternoon. Marianne glanced at the screen. It's your son. Put it on speaker. This is Marianne Bell, she said as she answered. Gabriel's voice came through tight but controlled. I'd like to speak to my mother. She's here. A pause. Mom, I think this has gotten out of hand. Out of hand. 8 years of silence, and now it's too much? I don't think so, I said. We didn't expect things to go this way, he continued. Nora's been under stress. The kids, the process. I said nothing. We can fix this, he added quickly. You can come back home. We'll do it properly this time. Home. Like nothing had changed. Properly? I repeated. Yes, we'll start your papers, I promise. I looked at Marianne. She didn't move. 8 years, I said slowly. It's not that simple, he started. No, I cut in. It is exactly that simple. You just chose not to. Silence. Then the shift. If you go down this path, he said, softer now, it's going to hurt everyone. The kids, the family. It's not worth it. There it was. Not responsibility, consequence. But not for what they did, for what I might do. I already gave you everything, I said. You're talking about damage? That already happened. You're being influenced, he said. Whoever is advising you. Careful, Marianne said quietly. He stopped. Reset. We don't want this to become something bigger than it needs to be. Too late, I said. It already is. Another pause. Then finally, we sat together at a small table by the window, the late light slipping in quietly, touching the edges of everything without asking permission. I poured her tea, mint with a little honey, just the way she'd liked it since she was small. Some things don't change, even when everything else does. They're fighting, she said. I didn't react right away. I let the words settle, like I had learned to do with everything else. "How bad?" I asked. She exhaled slowly. Not loud, not all the time, but constant, like everything is tight. Mom keeps saying it'll pass, Dad keeps saying we need to handle it carefully. Carefully, I repeated. I knew what that meant to him. "And you?" I asked. "I'm not pretending," she said. Of course she wasn't. Sophia had never been the kind to look away when something mattered. She noticed things. Who showed up, who didn't, who carried weight and who shifted it. What about Ethan? She hesitated just for a second. "He doesn't get it," she said. "Or he doesn't want to." That landed deeper than I expected. Ethan, who used to fall asleep on the couch while I folded laundry. Ethan, who needed his shirts ironed just right before school presentations. Ethan, who once cried over burnt buns like it meant something bigger. "He thinks you're overreacting," Sophia added, softer this time. I nodded. "That's easier." "For him," she said. Silence stretched between us, but it wasn't empty. It held weight now. Truth has a way of doing that. Then she reached into her bag. "I brought something," she said. She pulled out her phone, her fingers moving a little faster than usual. "I didn't mean to record it," she added quickly. "It just happened." My eyes stayed on her. "What is it?" She unlocked the screen, scrolled, then placed the phone between us. "It's from that night," she said. "Before they took you." The air shifted. "I was in the hallway," she continued. "I heard them talking." "Who?" I asked, though I already knew. "Mom and Dad." Something inside me went very still. "Play it." She did. At first, it was just movement, background noise, the kind of sound you never notice unless you're looking for something. Then voices. Nora first, sharp, controlled, but underneath it, urgency. We couldn't keep doing this. She was never going to leave on her own. Gabriel lower, tense. "You didn't have to do it today." "When else?" Nora snapped. "This was the cleanest moment. Papers done, everything's secure. What did you want, another year of this?" A pause. Then his voice again, tighter now. "She's my mother." "And she's been dead weight for years." Nora cut in, flat, final. "We solved it. One call, that's it." Silence. Footsteps. The recording ended. Sophia didn't look at me. She didn't need to. I reached out, turned the phone face down. For a moment, I just sat there. No shaking, no tears, just still. Because now there was no space left for doubt, no version of events that softened this, no misunderstanding to hide behind. This wasn't pressure, it wasn't stress. This was a decision, planned, timed, executed. "Do you understand what this is?" I asked quietly. She nodded. "Yes." "And you still brought it to me." Another nod. "I'm not scared of them," she said. I studied her face. So young, and already seeing clearly. "That will make your life harder," I told her. "I know." This silence was different. Not empty, solid. I picked up the phone and handed it back. "Keep a copy," I said, "and send one to Marianne." I already did. Of course she had. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. Because now it wasn't just my word. It wasn't just records. It was theirs, their voices, their choice. And once something like that exists, it doesn't disappear. It moves, just like I was going to. Living above the bakery changed something in me faster than I expected. Not because it was comfortable, it wasn't. The bed was narrow, the ceiling low, mornings came early whether I wanted them to or not, but everything there was honest. When I worked, it was clear. A few hours, small tasks, legal, paid properly, no vague promises, no "we'll fix it later." If I chopped herbs, I was paid for chopping herbs. If I folded pastry boxes, they were counted, documented, real. The smell of fresh bread filled the space every morning.
challah, lavash, sometimes sweet rolls with apricot jam. It clung to everything, my clothes, my hands, my hair. But for the first time in years, that smell belonged to me, not to someone else's house, not to something I was never acknowledged in, to where I chose to be. "You move like someone who's worked in a kitchen her whole life," Anai asked one morning. "I have," I replied. She nodded, and that was enough. She didn't ask more. That kind of restraint, that's respect too. Outside that small, steady world, things were tightening. Marianne wasn't just reviewing, she was building. Requests, records, patterns, quiet conversations with people who had seen more than Gabriel and Nora ever realized. "They didn't isolate you as well as they thought," she told me one afternoon. "What do you mean?" She slid a paper across the table. Names: a school administrator, a pediatric nurse, a neighbor, a crossing guard. All of these people interacted with you, not them, you. I looked at the list. I remembered every one. Small conversations, routine moments, nothing dramatic, but consistent. "They remember you," Marianne said, "and that matters." Of course it did, because a life like mine wasn't defined by one moment. It was repetition, every day, over and over. "And there's more," she added. I looked up. "Financial movement." My chest tightened slightly. "What kind?" She tapped another document. "Shared accounts, transfers, small amounts, spread over time. It looks like money was moved through accounts connected to you, but not controlled by you." I frowned. "I didn't have access. You didn't need it." And then I understood. They hadn't just used my labor, they had used my name, quietly, carefully, the kind of thing no one notices, unless someone starts looking. "And if this holds," Marianne said, "this changes everything." I leaned back. It already had. That evening, Sophia came again, but this time she wasn't alone. Ethan stood a few steps behind her, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight, like someone caught between staying and leaving. I looked at him. He didn't meet my eyes at first. Then, slowly, he did. "Hi," he said. Just that, like everything had happened, like nothing had happened. "Hello, Ethan." Silence stretched. Sophia didn't interrupt. She knew this wasn't her moment. "I didn't know it was like that," he said finally. His voice was low, not fully defensive, not fully open, just uncertain. "I didn't know it was like that." I studied him. "You didn't ask." He flinched. "I thought you liked it," he said. "Being there, helping." I nodded. "I did like it. Because you were there." That part I didn't say out loud, but he heard it anyway. I saw it land. "But liking something," I continued, "doesn't make it right." He swallowed. "I heard the recording." Of course he had. "And?" I asked. He hesitated. "It didn't sound like what they're saying now." "No," I said, "it didn't. Because truth, when it's not prepared for an audience, sounds different." Later that night he came alone. No message, no warning, just a knock at the bakery door. Anaye glanced at me. I nodded. She turned away without a word. Ethan stepped inside slowly. "I heard them arguing," he said immediately. I waited. They were arguing about deleting things, messages, accounts. Dad said it's too late. Mom said it's not. I didn't react. "They're scared," he added. That word hung in the air. I looked at him. "Good," I said. He blinked. "I didn't think you'd say that." "Why not?" He hesitated. "I don't know. You're you." I almost smiled. "You think I don't understand consequences?" He didn't answer. "They made a decision. Now they're living inside it." He nodded slowly. "I think Dad didn't expect it to go this far." "No," I said. "He expected it to end quickly." "And Mom?" "She expected it to work." Silence. Heavy. Clear. "I don't think I know them," he said quietly. "That's the first honest thing you've said," I replied. He looked up. What happens now? I leaned back slightly. Now they start losing control of the story. And once something like that exists, it doesn't disappear. It moves, just like I was going to. Living above the bakery changed something in me faster than I expected. Not because it was comfortable, it wasn't. The bed was narrow, the ceiling low, mornings came early whether I wanted them to or not, but everything there was honest. When I worked, it was clear. A few hours, small.
Marianne showed me the note. "They're not accusing him yet," she said, "but they're looking." That's how it begins. Not with punishment, with attention. And attention, when it lands in the right place, is enough. Nora, on the other hand, reacted differently. She didn't slow down, she tightened. "She's trying to control the narrative," Sophia told me, calling people, explaining things before anyone even asks. "What is she saying?" I asked. "That you're confused," Sophia replied, "that you've been unstable for a while, that you misunderstood everything." I nodded. Of course she was. When facts become dangerous, people switch to perception. "She even said you refused help," Sophia added, "that they tried to support you, but you didn't cooperate." That almost impressed me. The confidence, the precision. But lies like that require consistency, and Nora didn't have it anymore, not with so many versions of the story already in motion. At the same time, Marianne was moving faster. "The recording has been submitted," she said. Not loudly, not publicly, exactly where it needed to be. "They can't ignore it," she added. "And they can't explain it," I replied. She nodded. We sat across from each other, documents spread between us like pieces of something already decided, just waiting to be recognized. "There's something else," she said. I looked up. "The financial trail is stronger than we thought. There are patterns, suggesting they may have benefited from reporting household structures that don't match reality." I leaned back slightly. "How much?" She didn't answer right away. "Enough," she said finally. That word again. Not precise, but dangerous, because enough means you don't need more. Later that day, Gabriel came. Not to the bakery, not to Marianne's office, to my door. Anahid opened it, looked at him once, then called my name without asking a question. He stepped inside like he didn't belong there, because he didn't. His eyes moved quickly, small space, simple furniture, the faint smell of baking still in the air. "This is where you're staying?" he asked. "Yes." A pause. Then he softened his tone. "You don't have to live like this." I almost smiled. "I don't have to live the way I was living either," I replied. That landed. He shifted. "I came to talk," he said, "without all of this. There is no without this anymore." His jaw tightened. "I'm trying to fix things." "No," I said calmly, "you're trying to limit damage." Silence. Sharp, accurate. He stepped closer. "You don't understand how far this can go," he said, lower now. "There are consequences to pushing this." I met his eyes. "I understand that better than you do." Another pause. Longer this time, because now he was starting to realize something he hadn't before. Fear didn't work anymore. "What do you want?" he asked again. Same question, different tone, less control. "Everything documented," I said. "Everything acknowledged. Everything corrected." "That's not realistic," he snapped before he could stop himself. There it was. Not in the words, in the reaction. I tilted my head slightly. "No," I said, "it's just not convenient." He exhaled sharply, running his hair through his hair. "You're going to destroy everything." I didn't raise my voice, didn't move. "You already did." That was the moment he lost balance. Not loudly, not visibly, internally. I saw it, in the way his shoulders dropped, in the way he stopped trying to control the conversation. "You're serious," he said. "Yes." "And you're not coming back." It wasn't a question. No. Silence filled the space. But this time, it belonged to me. For the first time in his life, he stood in front of me without control, without leverage, without a reset,
and he didn't know what to do with that. "I didn't think you'd go this far," he said quietly. I looked at him, really looked. For a moment, I saw the boy he used to be. Then it passed. "You didn't think I had a choice," I said. That was the difference. He turned toward the door, paused, but didn't look back. "Then we'll see how this ends." I didn't answer, because I already knew something he didn't. This wasn't ending, not yet. This was the part where everything becomes visible, and once that happens, there's no returning to silence. After Gabriel left, the air didn't settle, it sharpened, because now there was no pretending left, no middle space, no version of the story where this dissolves quietly into misunderstanding. Everything had moved too far, and once things move that far, they don't come back smaller. Marianne called early the next morning. "We need to prepare." For what? For formal proceedings. That was fast, too fast. What did they say? They're denying everything. Of course they were. Everything? Yes. According to them, you were never working, just staying temporarily, helping occasionally, by choice. I closed my eyes. Not from pain, from recognition. This was the version they were committing to. Do they mention the recording? They're questioning the context, saying it was misinterpreted. Predictable. When facts are clear, you attack the frame. Good, I said. You expected that? Yes, because denial like that locks them in, and once they're locked in, they can't adjust without breaking themselves. Then we move forward. Exactly. Later, we sat down again, but this time felt different. Before, we were building. Now, we were preparing to present. "They're going to try to discredit you," Marianne said. "Your memory, your consistency, your intentions. They already are. Yes, but now it will be formal, on record." I nodded. "I understand." She looked at me carefully. "Do you?" 8 years, I said. "You don't survive that without learning how to stay consistent." That was the truth, because I had already lived under pressure, quiet pressure, daily. This was just louder. "Start from the beginning," she said, sliding the notebook toward me. And I did. Not like a story, like a record. Dates, times, actions, patterns. Every morning, every night. Every interruption, every promise. I didn't rush, didn't skip, didn't guess. Because strength isn't in how loud something is, it's in how precise. At some point, she stopped writing. She just listened. "This is going to be very difficult for them to dismantle," she said. "I know." "And they will." "Yes," I replied, "they will." That afternoon, Nora came. Not a call, not a message, in person. Anahid opened it, looked at her once, then called my name without asking a question. She stepped inside like she still owned space she never earned. Perfect posture, controlled expression. But her eyes, different now, sharp, focused. "I think we should talk," she said. I didn't invite her to sit. "You can speak." This has gone further than necessary. No, it's gone exactly as far as it needed to. A flicker, small, but real. "You're being advised poorly. You're repeating yourself." That irritated her. "You don't understand the consequences." No, you don't understand the consequences of what you did. That landed, hard, because Nora didn't respond immediately, and Nora always responded. "You're not thinking clearly." "I am." For the first time in 8 years, silence. Then she stepped closer, lowered her voice. "You could still walk away, with support." I let the words sit. Support? Then I answered. I did walk away. And that was the difference. She wasn't offering anything, she was trying to pull me back. But that door was already closed. She studied me. Then something changed. Not fear, not defeat. Recognition. You won't end the way you think. It already isn't ending the way you thought. That was the last thing. She turned, left. No goodbye. Because she understood. The same thing Gabriel had started to understand. This wasn't a situation anymore. It was a process. and processes don't stop just because someone wants them to. After she left, something shifted again, not outside, inside, because a small part of me had still been waiting, not for an apology, not even regret, just acknowledgement. But there was none, and once you understand that, you stop expecting anything from them, and that changes how you move. The next few days became structured, precise, measured. Marianne organized everything carefully. "They're starting to contradict themselves," she said. "How?" She turned the screen toward me. 2 statements, same people, different versions. In one, I was temporary. In another, long-term dependent. "They don't align," she said. "No. And once that starts, it spreads. Because now every answer has to match every previous one. They won't keep that consistent," I said. "Exactly. Because lies aren't built for repetition. Truth is." Later, Sophia came again, but this time she didn't sit. "I'm leaving," she said. "Where?" "I applied for student housing, temporary." "That was fast." "They know," she said. "They're pretending it's independence, but they know why." "And you?" "I'm not staying there." No hesitation, no doubt, just clarity. "You understand what that means?" "Yes." "It won't be easy." "I know."
I told her I didn't know who he was anymore. Silence followed. Not the kind that cools things down, but the kind that creates distance. And sometimes distance is harder to fix than anger. "He didn't argue," she said. "He just stood there. Then he left." I nodded slowly, because for the first time in a long while, Gabriel was feeling something he had spent years avoiding: loss. Not loss of control, but loss of connection. And that kind of loss doesn't respond to negotiation. Later that evening, Ethan came again. But something about him had shifted. Not confusion, not hesitation. Something heavier. "They want me to speak," he said. I didn't react right away. "Speak where?" I asked. "In all of this," he replied. "To support them." "Of course. They want you to confirm their version," I said. He nodded. "Yes." "And will you?" He didn't answer immediately, because now this wasn't about them anymore. It was about him. "I don't know," he said, finally. Honest, but not enough. I stepped closer. "You do know," I said quietly. "You just haven't said it out loud yet." He looked at me, struggling, because this wasn't about information anymore. It was about direction. "If you speak," I continued, "you need to be able to stand inside what you say, not just today, later." That landed, because truth doesn't end when the conversation does. It stays. "They're my parents," he said. "Yes, and your—" He stopped, didn't finish, because he didn't know what word to use anymore. Not just grandmother, not just someone in the house. Something more. Something he was only beginning to understand. "I'm the one who was there," I said. That was enough. Silence followed. Real this time. "I need time," he said. I nodded. "Take it." Because this decision wouldn't just define the moment. It would define who he became after it, and that couldn't be rushed. He left quietly. No promises, no conclusions, just movement. And as the door closed behind him, I understood something clearly. This case wasn't just building outside anymore. It was building inside the family, breaking it, reshaping it, forcing each of them to decide who they were going to be when everything came into the light. And soon that decision wouldn't be private anymore. The room was colder than I expected, not physically, structurally, ordered, controlled, a long table, neutral walls, documents aligned in perfect stacks, no raised voices, no interruptions, everything designed to keep emotion out. But pressure doesn't disappear just because it's quiet. It concentrates.
Marianne sat beside me, calm as always, hands resting lightly on the table. Across from us, Gabriel and Nora, not sitting together, not fully apart. That told me everything. They weren't a unit anymore, just two people trying not to fracture in front of others. Ethan was there too, slightly behind them, not fully with them, not fully away. Sophia wasn't in the room. That was her choice, and I respected it. "This is a formal review of submitted claims and responses," someone said at the head of the cable. "Measured, neutral. We will proceed with statements and documentation. No drama, no emotion. Exactly where truth becomes visible." Marianne gave me a small nod. I understood. This wasn't a moment to defend. It was a moment to present. I opened my notebook, placed it in front of me, and began. Not fast, not slow. Exact. June 12th, 6:10 a.m. Breakfast prepared, school lunches packed, drop-off completed. Cleaning, laundry, dinner preparation. Day after day, page after page. 8 years, reduced to structure. No one interrupted, because this wasn't storytelling, it was record. At some point, I stopped looking up. I didn't need to. I wasn't speaking to them anymore. I was placing something permanent on record. Then Marianne spoke, clear, controlled. Financial patterns, inconsistencies, money moved in ways that didn't match their claims, details that didn't align. No accusations, just facts. Then the recording. No build-up, no warning, just played. Nora's voice filled the room, sharp, precise, unfiltered. She was never going to leave on her own. This was the cleanest moment. We solved it. One call. No one moved, no one spoke, because there are moments when explanation becomes impossible, and this was one of them. I looked up for the first time. Gabriel wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the table, still, tight. Nora held her posture, but not completely. I saw it. A crack. Small, but real. "This recording has been submitted as evidence," Marianne said calmly, "alongside logs, financial records, and third-party confirmations." Silence. Then the question, "Do you dispute the authenticity of this material?" A pause. Not long, but long enough. Gabriel shifted, opened his mouth, closed it. Nora answered, "We dispute the interpretation." Of course. Always the frame. "Please clarify." Another pause. "It's being presented without full context," she said. "Emotional stress, miscommunication. It does not reflect the full reality." There it was. Control reconstructed, but weaker. Because once something like that is heard, it can't be reshaped completely. Marianne didn't argue. She didn't need to. She placed another document forward. Then let's continue with the full context. And we did. Witness references, school records, medical logs, names, dates, consistency. Piece by piece, their version didn't collapse all at once. It simply stopped holding. Ethan shifted again, more visibly now, because hearing something is one thing. Seeing it laid out clearly, that changes everything. When it was done, I closed the notebook, not forcefully, just finished, because there was nothing left to add. Everything that needed to exist, existed, and in that silence, something settled. Not victory, not yet, but direction, because from this point forward, they no longer controlled the narrative. That part was over. This is the moment most people never reach. Truth fully visible. No chaos, no shouting, just reality. So tell me, what would you do in Elena's place? The end didn't come all at once. It never does. No dramatic declarations, no raised voices, just process. Reviews, follow-ups, clarifications. Their statements were tested, compared, measured, and slowly they adjusted.
They're shifting their position, Marianne told me. How? They're no longer denying everything. They're reframing. Of course. And the new version? That you were informally contributing. Misunderstandings about compensation. Misunderstandings. 8 years reduced again. But this time it didn't land, because now the facts were already fixed. You can't reframe structure, I said. No, but they'll try to soften it. Then came the terms, not conversations, documents, conditions, acknowledgements. They're offering a settlement. I looked at the papers. Compensation, recognition, legal protection. Everything written, everything structured, everything they avoided in 8 years, now required in full. They're trying to contain it, she said. I know. Do you want to proceed? I didn't answer right away, because this wasn't about winning. It was about finality, clarity, truth placed somewhere it couldn't be erased. What happens if I refuse? She said. It continues. Longer. More exposure. More cost. I nodded, looked at the papers again, and for the first time, they were naming it officially. Proceed, I said. The final meeting was shorter, quieter, not resolved, but decided. Gabriel looked smaller, not physically, internally. Nora still held control, but not fully, because now she wasn't managing the situation, she was contained by it. Documents reviewed, terms confirmed, adjustments made. Precise, clinical, final. At one point, Gabriel looked at me. Just a moment, and in that moment I saw something new. Regret. But too late, because regret doesn't undo structure. Then, signatures. Folders closed. That concludes this matter. 8 years, closed in a sentence. Outside, the air felt different. Not lighter, clearer. I'm not going back, I said. I didn't think you would, Marianne replied, because that house was never mine.
And now it never would be. Months passed, steady. I moved into a small apartment, simple, but mine. For the first time, everything there belonged to me, because I chose it. Sophia visited often, freely, no tension, no fear. Ethan came less, but stayed longer. I said no, he told me one night, to speaking for them. I nodded. They went angry, he said. That tells you everything, I replied. Gabriel came once, stood outside longer than necessary. I didn't think it would end like this, he said. It didn't, I answered. This is what came after. I made mistakes. I didn't correct him, not out loud. You can't come in, I said. He nodded. I understand. And this time, he meant it. I closed the door. Not hard, not soft, just closed. Then I sat back down, looked around, and understood something completely. For 8 years, I lived inside something that took from me without ever naming it. And when it ended, it didn't leave me empty, it left me free. Not everyone would have done what Elena did. Some would forgive, some would go back. Maybe that would be easier. But tell me, was she right to close that door? Or did she lose something she can never get back? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.